Hello everybody, welcome to our class Introduction to Business Analytics using Excel and Power BI, Lesson 6. Today we'll be talking about DAX, which is Data Analysis Expression Language. We'll be working with the sales data, and the data is stored into three different places. One is this dimensions file. Here you'll find a list of dates. You will find list of sales reps, and list of products. In the sales directory, we have sales of this company from 2017 to 2021. If you look inside, each year has a separate Excel file and CSV file. And each file is about 250,000 records. So together we'll be working with around 2 million records. I divided this sales into sales and new sales so that we will see that as new data come in and we're going to refresh our Power Query, so you will see the data will change. So we're going to first work with sales, and then we're going to add this new sales to sales, and then we'll refresh data and see the effect. We're going to start with a brand new Excel file. So you can right click, new worksheet. Let's call this Boomerang Sales. So let's open new file. So our first job right now is to import the data. For that, we're going to use Power Query. So let's go do get data from file. And first, we're going to import it from a SQL file. We're going to import our dimensions. So we're going to go to data and pick our dimensions file. And we're going to pick this table, date. Actually, we can pick this worksheet, which is date. Doesn't matter, it's the same information. Now let's do transform and load. Let's change the data type of date to actual date. Month's number, okay. Month, okay. Year is number, is good. So we're going to select close and load. In here, we will not load our data into traditional Excel tables. We're going to save it in a columnar database that is optimized for DAX and optimized for large data. That's why we're going to pick only create connection, and we're going to check this checkbox saying add this data to the data model, and we're going to click OK. As you can see, we loaded 2,922 records. But where is it? As you can see, it's nowhere. Let's close the file and look at the size of the file. It's 146 kilobytes, so data must be somewhere. And of course it is. If we go to data and we look at manage data model, and here you will see the data model. That's the same data models that when we saw in Power BI, same technology. So we can see that we have column date, monthly number, month, year, and if we click on the diagram, for now we only have this one table, which is D-date. Let's import next table, get data from file, from Excel workbook. Same Excel file, dimensions. Let's import product. Transform. Okay, product ID, product name, retail price. Let's change this to currency. Category. Okay, that all looks good. Now close and load to. Again, very important. Pick the only create work connection and add this data to the data model. And click OK. Okay, let's look at our data model again. Look at the diagram. And now we see two tables, D-date and D-product. Let's import sales rep data. Okay, we're going to go again, data, get data from file, workbook. Data dimensions. And we're going to pick sales rep. Okay, we're going to double check the data types, make sure it looks good. Close and load to again. Only create connection, add it to the data model. Say OK. So you can see so far we have 2,000 records in D-date and 25 records in sales rep. So not a lot of data in data model yet. Next, we're going to import our sales data. So we're going to go get data from file, actually say from folder. We're going to pick this folder, which is sales. Click open. Power Query shows us list of files, name of files, extensions, information about files. Okay, say transform data. Okay, we don't need information about the files, we only need data. So I'm going to come in here and delete all these columns. And then I'll double click combine files. So basically, this will add one file after another. We have multiple files. It will create one data set out of all the files in that directory. So I'll look at preview, see it's the first file. So all the files right now are being merged. Click OK. Now we see date, which we're going to change to date. Product is good, sales rep, units sold, all this, units sold, discount, cost of goods sold. Cost of goods sold should be a currency. Product ID, sales rep ID, units sold, discount. Okay, that looks good. Close and load to. Again, only create connections, add to data model. So now we can see how many records we're going to get. So you see that we loaded 1,500,000 records, which is more than regular Excel files can contain and work with. But Power Pivot, together with columnar database, it's not a problem to work with 50 million records, even more. So it's not. So we can see that we can work with a lot larger data set than we could do in traditional Excel. Okay, now all our data is in a columnar database in Excel file, and we can see the examples of the data, right? So for example, in sales, remember we have 1.5 million records, but we will not see all 1.5 million. We only see the an example of records. We don't get all records here, but we can see the records, but not all records. Let's go to the diagram and let's rename the sales to F sales. Actually, it says table was created by query, change the table. To change table, change the query instead. Okay, let's do that. So we can just change our Power Query. And this should actually rename our table in the data model. Let's double check. Yeah. Let's refresh. Refresh. And it should refresh data model. Let's see. Okay. F sales. So, if you remember from our previous class, F sales is where most of the information, real information, lives. we have 1.5 million records in this table. And all other records are dimension tables. They are just tables that help us to keep information about products, sales reps, and date. Now we need to build a relationship between these tables. So we're gonna put our fact in the middle and our dimensions around it. So we have a star schema. So now how do we relate? We relate our date relates to the date in sales. So for one date, here we can have multiple sales in sales. So we're gonna move connection, and it builds a relationship that says one to many. For one date, we can have many different sales records. Okay, next step, we're going to connect sales rep ID with the sales rep ID in sales. This sales rep ID can have multiple sales records. Product, same way, we connect product ID with the product. Okay, so product ID, for one product we can have multiple sales records. Like in previous class, we will hide columns that we don't need in our when we build the pivot tables. So product ID on the product we can hide. Sales rep ID on sales we can hide. All the columns in sales we can hide. We're going to use what's called measures when we build pivot tables. This will be explained a bit later in the class. And we can hide the date. Okay, let's look at our diagram. What we see is that our sales have a product ID, and actual product, related product has retail price. Let's look at the data so we can actually look how it looks in the data. So here's our sales. So each row on sales has product ID. And we follow this product ID. And we follow this product ID to the product. This product ID 1, it's actually quad. And the retail price is $43.95. If you go back to sales, I want to add a column here on our sales, which actually shows the retail price. To do that, I'll click on this add column, and I'll call it the retail price. Now, the value we're going to put just like in Excel, but we're going to use a function called related. Related, and here we pick a related table. So, product, retail price. So we can connect those two tables and actually get the value of the retail price in the record of sales. So you can see that product IDs here are 1 and prices are all same, $43.95. If we look at the product ID 1 has price $43.95. So this is correct. Let's go to our diagram, right click, and let's also hide it from client tools. Let's build another column. The column we're going to build we'll call line sales. Okay, we double click on the name. Line sales. And the formulas we're going to put, we're going to multiply retail price times quantity sold. Just like in Excel, we can put equal formula, quantity sold times retail price. And we can enter. Let's set data types to our columns, so we select both of them. In the format, pick currency. So data model keeps formatting also of the data. Next, we're going to create our first measure. To kind of understand what measures are, we're going to do an example. So measures is basically some aggregation function that we're going to run against the data. So let's make our first measure. We're going to call it total sales. When you create measure in Excel, you have this semicolon and equal sign. So now what kind of logic we're going to do? We're going to do sum of F sales, line sales. So F sales is our table, and line sales is our column. So basically we're saying create aggregation that says total sales equals sum of all sales. In Excel, we'll put this measure right here in underneath the actual data. So let's right-click and format it and make it currency. Okay, now we just built our first measure. Let's try to use it inside the pivot tables. And before we do that, let's hide this line sales from client tools also. The only thing that's available will be total sales for our pivot tables, which we will see shortly. Let's build our first pivot table. We go to pivot tables, and we are not doing pivot tables from range or table. We're getting it from data model. Now, our rows, we're going to pick from product, and we're going to pick categories, and our values will come from our sales, and the only thing you can see is a measure. So we're going to So what we just see right now is we have a simple pivot table that gives us sales by category. And the measure adds sales, but it adds sales within a group. And the group is defined by the pivot table. So it has a group context. So for this particular row, it picks up all the sales with category freestyle. For this particular row, it does all the sales. It sums all the sales with category total sales. For grand total, it adds all the sales together. Let's add a slicer in the chart. So we're going to go insert, slicer, and under date, we're going to pick, let's slice it by year. And what you can see is that our date list has dates for all the way to 2024, but the data we have only to 2021, which is, that's what we expect. And as we change our slicers, we can see that our measure actually recalculates based on two conditions, on the year and on the category. So the logic is first pick a year, then pick category, get a subgroup, and then apply the measure for this particular row. So measure is basically instruction how to aggregate, but what to aggregate is given by the row context of the data. Let's also add a chart. So largest to smallest. And we can remove chart title. We can get the grid lines off and hide the buttons. Okay, so now we have a mini dashboard. Now I want to show you the Power Query update. So what we're going to do is we're going to add more data to a directory, and then we click refresh data so we can see that as data has changed, we can update our dashboard. So new data became available, and it's being delivered to this directory, to our sales directory. So our sales analyst comes in the morning, clicks refresh all, and new data being loaded right now into columnar database. And now you can see that now data is available for 2024, 2023, which was not available before. If we look at our queries, we can see that now we're operating at 2,219,000 records. And as you can see, everything runs very, very fast. So regular Excel cannot possibly operate with 2 million records. So columnar databases is very much optimized to work on much larger data sets than regular Excel. Now let's build another measure. So we're going to go to our cells and we're going to build total cost of goods sold. Total cost of goods sold. And that's going to be equal to sum of cost of goods sold. In fact, we can just call it total COGS. Total cost of goods sold. Okay, let's format the measure. Pick a currency for it. So now we can see that for all the data, total sales were at 5,700,000 and cost of goods sold to 2,413,000. Pretty good. So now one more measure that I want to do is actual profit. So profit let's call it total profit is of course equal to total sales minus total costs. And you can see in square brackets it means measures. So now we use measures to create another measure. Let's format it. Currency. Good. So total profit is $3 million. Let's build another pivot table. So we do insert pivot table from data model. We're going to pick from a date, we're going to pick a year for our rows. And we're going to pick from sales total cost of goods, total sales, total cost of goods sold. If you remember when we were doing pivot tables from table or range, we had to format the values. But now the format comes from our measures. We don't have to worry about formatting. Let's insert the chart. And let's connect the slicer to both pivot tables. We can clean up chart a little bit. Remove grid lines. And hide the buttons. Okay. So now we have a mini dashboard. And you can see that our measures react to the slicer. Let's move slicer here, chart here. Yeah. Let's open Power BI and click on blank report. Then do File, import, Power Query, Power Pivot, and let's pick our file. Click Start. And click Close. File, Save As, and let's put it here. Okay. So what we can see is that Power BI actually imported our database schema. You can see the you can see our tables. Let's try to build the we can see the schema exactly the same way that we had it in Excel. We can look at the data. For different tables, everything is here. And now we're going to build some visuals. Let's go to sales and take total sales. Let's go to our date and pick a year. And now we have our first visual, which is sales per year. We can create another visual if we take, again, total sales. And a category. We can pick the matrix. You can pull products under categories. So as you can see, we were able to import our DAX schema, Power Query schema, into Power BI. And now we'll be able to publish it and do whatever we can do with Power BI. So we can see that DAX and columnar database are supported in both Excel and Power BI.